Alrighty, everybody, welcome to the EDL Waveline. Winners round two, losers round one. I felt like it would be a little too much to put into the title, so we're going with the winners. And today I'm joined by Clutch. Wingman is a little late today, but he should be popping in a little bit here. So Clutch, how are you doing? We are in the winners round two, so the winner of the series will be going straight to the finals, and then we'll see some storylines developing. We'll make it into that loser's miracle run. So, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I feel like last week, most of the games I think went how some at least the CT game. I mean, everyone had them winning. Now Genie did give them a little bit of a run for their money, but game three came and yeah, that was not very good. But TD Syndicate took down BDE, which I don't know if everyone had that happening. Um, but yeah, now BDE in the losers bracket. I feel like there's a lot of storylines that are going to be very interesting in the losers bracket. If you don't already know, BDE Lucid already won 2-0 over Snack Bears via forfeit. So they're already moving on to the next round. So there's only actually two series on tonight. It is the winners round two, which is Coachless Tyranny taking on TD Syndicate. And then the other match of losers round one, which is Genie Pearl taking on the Donut Shop Chocolate. So there'll be some good games. I think, you know, it's, I feel like these teams that are left are all pretty solid. And I feel like anyone can honestly win at this point.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot going on, like you said. Snack Bears did take an FF to well, they did FF, excuse me, to BDE Lucid. So, like you said, BDE Lucid will be moving on. But with that, we're going to take a look at what happened last week. So, this was our streamed series. Last week, we had Coachless Tyranny taking on Genie Pearl. They took the 2-1. And then on the other side, we had TD Syndicate take a 2-0 over BDE. So, BDE, like we said, dropped into that losers bracket. And then now they have an FF win against Snack Bear. So, they will be moving on to the next round. But we circle back looking at Coachless Tyranny versus Genie Pearl. I think the fact that Genie Pearl took that one game off of Coachless Tyranny, I think that was a really huge feat for them. Genie Pearl, like we were saying at the very beginning of the season, we weren't seeing them go up this far, like let alone in this season and playoffs and all that kind of stuff. So seeing them get into that winners bracket, right, and seeing perform as well as they did against Coachless Tyranny, I think that's big props to them, regardless of just how the matches played out. So, Clutch, looking at this series, I mean, what was the biggest surprise for you?
I think the biggest surprise for me was the fact that I think Genie taking game number two. I feel like that game was kind of done and dusted. I feel like that because I mean, if you didn't watch it, obviously you watch it, but to the people in the chat maybe who didn't watch it, Coach's Tyranny got like an absolutely massive lead early and proceeded like I mean, what's it called? Downfall was on the York, just split pushing. He took like the Nexus Tower like super early on. Like I thought the game was over. Like I was like, all right, this is GG. Like it's almost impossible to come back from this. But Genie was able to stall this game out for like 20 minutes, eventually scaled, came online, and then ended up winning the game. Now, Coach Tyranny did throw multiple times in that game. So the side of Genie could come back. I think that was the most like kind of like, okay, what just happened thing? Because I mean, Coach's Tyranny again is undefeated. You thought coming in, they were just going to get a 2-0 and kind of move on. But yeah, it was a little bit, I mean, not really super concerning, but obviously it shows Coach's Tyranny isn't like unbeatable. You can beat them. And then one more thing I want to point out is game three. Coach's Tyranny said, "All right, we're done screwing around," and they just ran over Genie.
Yeah, we've
Like
had our fun,
it
guys.
was not close. The kills were 23-1. Like they ran them over in game three. They said, "All right, guys, we need to actually win. We got to stop screwing around." So I feel like Coach's Tyranny had a really, I still think they had a good series. I think Genie has a lot of good things to take away from that series. Um, in general, I feel like obviously this is the team that can stall out games. Um, but kind of pound for pound, some of their players don't like they can't match up to Coach's Tyranny's players. But good news in the losers bracket, been practicing an extra week. They go up against a way easier team. I still think TDS Chocolate, they're basically Rev 2.0, is still good, but they're not Coach's Tyranny. It's going to be an easier match for them. So moving forward, I think Genie's got some good things to think about from this week, and we'll see. I mean, if they win, they're going to be playing BD. So
Yeah, and like you said, the second game between them, I mean, after Genie having a really strong showing in game number one for sure, um, yeah, in game number two, honestly, it's hard to say because honestly, I felt like every game except the last one, they had a really strong fighting chance, like you said. Um, Especially in game number two, where like Gabe recall on that Vagar. Vagar is already one of those champions that gets pretty hard to play against if you let him scale. So the fact that he did as well as he did that really annoying and scary build where you go Predator, you run at people. It's like there's a lot of coordination in the fact of G&E playing those kind of different comps and styles. So Coachless Tyranny, I mean, big props to them taking that series. They had a little bit of a different roster. They took SNC, so Snack Bear's Moonbull, which is now CT Albedo, playing that support for them. Um, but yeah, overall, I think Downfall, I mean, he did his regular thing, playing the Yorick in the side lane, and dude was just, I don't know, constant pressure that entire game, right? Despite them losing, I was like, there's no way like Downfall is gonna be able to end the game eventually, right? Like he's just knocking on their Nexus towers basically. But regardless, I think that series was very exciting, very good to watch. And with that, we're gonna look at that next series. We have TD Syndicate that took on BDE Lucid. So Clutch, looking at these two series, these two series, comparing them to Coach's Tyrannies, TD Syndicate, and BDE Lucid series. How do you feel about this being a 2-0? Honestly, I thought this would have been the closer match between the two.
yeah, I thought this would be a lot closer because BDE coming in, I feel like, was kind of on fire. They look like this really solid team. A lot of teams, or a lot of people, obviously in the bracket prediction had them, winning in the, or at least like going to the next round and playing Coach's Tyranny. I thought, with TD Syndicate making those roster changes, like, hey, this team might not be what they were. They might be slightly worse, but props to TD Syndicate. They really took it to them. They showed that, hey, just because we make roster changes doesn't mean our team is bad at all. And Super Square had an amazing series. 11-0 on the Wukong in the first game, absolutely popped off. Second game, picks up the Olaf 5-4-7. I think he had a really good series all around. So yeah, I thought this would be a lot closer. But TD Syndicate, picking up this, at least winning 2-0 against BDE in this fashion, this makes me hyped because winners round two, Coach's Tyranny, they didn't look amazing. They look good. Don't get me wrong. They look good, but they didn't look amazing. But TD Syndicate looked really good. So that makes me hype because now we have these two teams that potentially could contend with each other. Like no one's really been able to really beat, like no one has beaten Coach's Tyranny. So maybe this is finally the chance where like Coach's Tyranny really gets pushed to their limit. I don't think they've really been pushed to their limit yet. So it'll be pretty hyped to see. And also, obviously, the winner of the winners round two matchup goes to Worlds. They're already locked a spot at the Silver Worlds. We get 2 seeds, first and second. So that's a big match because obviously you want to win the league. Everyone, you want to be the first seed, you want to win the league. But to secure your spot already at Worlds is absolutely massive. So it's a huge match for both of these teams. But yeah, TD Syndicate looked pretty solid. BDE already ended up winning their game. So, I mean, there's not much to say against Snack Bears. I already predicted they would win anyway. I feel like BDE is too
Yeah, I think
solid of a
everyone
team to
did.
lose. So,
We'll see it.
yeah. So,
Yeah, I mean, like you said, both of these series, you know, having been played out the way that they were, TD Syndicate really looking like. Well, I think the one thing about TD Syndicate for me is because they had a little bit of a hiccup with their roster issues and stuff like that. I felt like they weren't quite as in form as they were before. But like you said, I think Super Square definitely that rock for the team. And then overall, there's just so much other talent. I think the fact that Agency 6 and Rhymes being a really consistent bot lane together, honestly, I see them as one of like the stronger bot lanes in the league. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of ways that TD Syndicate can play, and I'd be really interested to see, how they choose to play out their series tonight against Coachless Tyranny, knowing that Downfall is up there in the top side of the map doing what he needs to do and just, being the split pushing menace that he is. But let's see. I don't remember what order I put the slides in. Okay, so this is the playoff bracket now, so I haven't updated it yet. BDE does have a 2-0 over Snack Bears now in that loser's bracket. Tonight we're gonna be seeing Coachless Tyranny take on TD Syndicate, so up in that winner's bracket. It is a best of 5, by the way, guys. So remember, once you win 2 games, all right, don't go to bed yet. there's at least one more game. And then we have Genie Pearl going against the Donut Shop Chocolate. So I think that's one of the more exciting matches as well because Donut Shop has changed a lot of their roster, basically taking on all of Revolution's roster. So I mean, we'd be excited to see, just from the success of Revolution, how that is now translated into the Donut Shop. But with that, we'll move on. So yeah, like you said, Clutch, we all
Yeah.
predicted it 2-0. Oh, how did we know? How did we know they were going
Whoa!
to FF,
We
guys?
rigged the
What?
league. Let's go.
Yay, scripted. Oh no.
Yeah,
But
I
with
mean,
that,
there's
yeah,
yeah.
nothing much
Moving
to
on.
say
Not
about
much
that
to say.
series. Yeah, I was an FF, guys. Whatever, move on. But with this one, we have Genie Pearl taking on the Donut Shop Chocolate. Wingman is not here yet, so do you think we should
He'll be
save
here
this one
soon.
for him? Or do you want to just, get our
I
thoughts
mean,
out?
you and I can talk and hope. He said he'll be here in 5 minutes, so you and I can talk and hope by the time we're done talking, he's
All
in.
right. Okay. Okay. So you and I, we both agreed it was a GNE 2-1. I'd like to hear your thoughts as to, Genie. Obviously, you have them in favor of taking the two
Yep.
to one. What makes you think there's that one? Do you think it's because, like you said, and we were talking about before, Donut Shop is a lot of just basically Revolution's roster. Revolution was doing really well, um, even really without that one player that got comp ruled. So, what are your
Out.
thoughts?
So I'm TDS Chocolate, aka Rev 2.0. Um, they haven't played a game. They haven't played a game in the league yet together. So I mean, they've probably had scrims, right? They've probably practiced, but I'm gonna say this in quotations. They haven't played on stage yet. Okay, they haven't actually played a real match in the league because their last week was, if I remember correctly, yeah, it was an FF win. So they have yet to play. So I'm going to be honest. I'm going to take the team that's been playing the entire split together than a team that's kind of just got formed a week ago and they're kind of just figuring things out. Obviously, from Rev, they have Chicky Pie, Amazing Spice, and Wingman. I think all three of those players are pretty good. Pandorum and Nub the Scrub were pretty solid players on TDS Chocolate, but again, they have like 1-2 weeks to figure out what they're doing. And I honestly feel like that's not enough time to really get things going. And also, G&E is coming off of a 2-1 loss to Coach's Tyranny. I mean, they took a game off Coach's Tyranny, which not many people really did expect. A lot of people were just like, all right, Coach's Tyranny kind of going to just run them over. I feel like G&E
Are they
has
not
learned
gonna
a
do that?
couple things. Um,
You didn't see that?
and I feel like moving forward, I don't know. TDS Chocolate, they just haven't played. I feel like just the fact that they haven't played on stage is going to be their downfall. Now, they do have individual talent that is exceptional. They have great players across the board. And I think that, it's going to end up winning them a game just by, ending up having better micro and just kind of running over a game. But overall, I feel like Genie is the more put together team. And at the end of the day, they're most likely just going to take a 2-1 matchup to watch before I hand it to you because I'm trying to stall right now.
Yeah.
What is the matchup to watch? I'm gonna say mid. I think Gabe Recall and Amazing Spice are some of the better mid laners in the league. I don't think either of them got onto the ballot for All Star. I don't remember, but I think these are pretty solid mid laners. And if you give them a lead, I can for sure see them taking over a game. And Gabe Recall for sure, he's gonna want to show that he can hang at the top of the league because last week he didn't do so well in the mid lane. And I feel like coming into this week, he's going to have a fire under his butt, I should say. That's the PG term. And he's really going to step it up. And Genie's going to take it through that.
Yeah. As I'm going through the slides, Wingman just popped in, but with that, I have the All Stars that we have not announced yet, to my knowledge, Clutch, on this next slide, I believe.
Oh, you have all stars on the next slide?
I do. That's why I had to change it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, let's
I'm gonna
go.
go announce it right now. You get
Okay,
on
you
screen
guys get to
announcement.
see it first right here on stream. We have our
Yep.
all stars for EDL
Forgot to do
Winter
that.
2022. So on the left we have the number one all stars. On the right is the number two all stars. Don't take a screenshot of the stream because our names are covering it. Clutch will be posting the graphic in just a moment here, you guys.
Right
You'll
now.
see it there. He's posting it right now. So don't take a screenshot of this one. I'm sure it will look nicer on Discord. But we have for our number one All Stars, we have Downfall representing Coachless Tyranny, BDE Apathy in the Jungle, Langmo from also CLT, which he is also known as Changmyung, I believe, from the name change. So if you guys see that name on stream, that is Langmo. And then we have Spanks, EDL veteran, very long time player. Dude is just well known, has played really consistently, and has shown time and time again that he has been always a very big asset for his teams. And then we had Snack Bear's Talon, who was very well known for that Zoe in the bot lane, ranked out of the team and stuff like that, but really made their mark. And on the number two All Stars team, we have Chicky Pie from Revolution, also known as TDS Chocolate and stuff now, and Rocky from Coachless Tyranny, Moonbull from Snack Bears, who has now transitioned to Coachless Tyranny, and Ominous Penguin representing G&E Pearl. I think Ominous Penguin, a lot of other G&E players represented the team really, really well. And big props to everyone here. And then we had Bickle from Coachless Tyranny, also representing the second All Stars team. So big congrats to everybody. I said this on the gold stream. Remember, All Stars is, all it is you get to go onto the graphic and get like a Discord role, okay? Don't flame anybody. Don't try to hurt anyone's feelings, okay? At the end of the day, it's just a Discord role. You really don't get anything. So, at the end of the day, still congrats to everyone that made it. To everyone else that didn't make it. Okay. Clutch, correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't actually get to see the number of votes for everybody.
No, you didn't. I didn't give you the. I could have rigged it and just gave you random people, and you would never know.
True. But yeah,
I'm
by the
gonna.
way, guys, I just put the graphics together. I didn't actually look at the votes. Clutch
All
just
right.
told me, okay,
In all
give you this.
honesty, I can tell you that this season, at least for EDL voting, the difference between a ton of first all stars and third, like not even making the ballot, was like 2 votes. Like I'm not actually joking. I'm not gonna release the results, but like I'm telling you that the difference was like 2 votes in multiple roles. Like they were really, really close. Um, so just because you didn't make the ballot, it could have been a difference of literally 2 votes. So I wouldn't get too mad over it. Besides, just win the league. Then you can trash talk
Yeah, just
everyone.
win, get your mystery skin,
Okay,
then,
mysteries.
then you can talk for sure.
Okay, I need to. Yeah, you guys talk. I need to do something.
Yeah, so he's posting that as we speak. So if you guys want to see the roster one more time, it's in the All Star lineup channel. Yeah, big congrats everybody. And now that Wingman is here, I'll move on here. So Wingman, back to we were just talking about your series prior to all that. So you said 2-1 for your team here, TDS Chocolate. Clutch's point was you guys haven't played in a little while. Obviously you guys have most likely scrimmed and stuff like that, but after having a couple of weeks off, you're going into this series and you're thinking it's a 2-1. If he's here,
Excuse me. Well,
yeah, okay,
part of that is just I got to put out confidence in my own team. We're feeling good, and but also even though we are moving to a new org, most of us it's still a lot of the same players, so we have a lot of our classic chemistry that we've had all year. And Pandorum, who's our new jungler, well, Donut Shop's old jungler, he's new to the rest of us. He's someone that's always been around the Rev community a lot, so we've always known him pretty well, and it's been a good integration, and we've we've got a lot of good practice in the last few weeks and feeling good. And honestly, just I think we played this team before. I think we match up very well against them individually. Our laners, I think this is going to be a case where Chicky Pie can really go off and lead us in this game. And I think having, that elite veteran Scruffo, Lispanks as he's known here, Scruffo is his name in the other servers. Lispanks at ADC, I think, is a good kind of counter to Penguin, kind of that big star player from GE. So I think we match up pretty well, and I think we can go head to head with him just like we did before. And that week one, obviously GE's got a lot better since then. We beat them 2-0, and that was without Gingerman, who later turned out to be a Smurf. So I'd say we're feeling pretty good, and we're upbeat, and we're ready to come to play.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty exciting, right? I feel like you guys went through a couple speed bumps and coming back into this series against a team that has garnered a lot of hype, being G&E Pearl. I feel like this is definitely, I think, the closest series of tonight. Well, I could say that. I think this series and Coach's Tyranny TD Syndicate will be two very good series. I think if anyone is from your guys' team or G&E is streaming it, let us know. Drop it into like the community stream channel, and we'll take a look at it. But
I think some
yeah,
people from the donor organization are. I can't remember who. I'll have to go check Discord. But when I get a link, I'll forward it to you, and we can put it in community streams.
ooh, awesome. Okay, so then my question for you, Wingman. So you were talking about your bot lane matchup. You're talking about Lispanks. Like I briefly mentioned, Lispanks, big veteran in the league, dude has shown time and time again that he is a well-established player and knows what he's doing. And then you're talking about Ominous Penguin. So I'm pretty sure Ominous Penguin was another player that, like the rest of GNE, very new to the competitive scene. Um, how are you feeling, about Revolution, obviously as established org, you guys all have some sort of experience, or most of you, I can't say for all of you, versus GNE Pearl, who kind of seems like they're just coming right out of, the womb almost, and having a whole bunch of talent just right into the start, and, getting really good in this kind of short amount of time.
I'd say by this point, I would say by this point in the season, we played the whole year together. I think everybody in the league feels pretty confident and comfortable at this point in the season, whether you're a 5-year veteran or it's your first year. We've been playing for weeks, and I think it is we are to that point where we're all feeling comfortable. So I don't think that experience is necessarily gonna be advantageous to us. I think these guys have been playing like seasoned veterans the last few weeks, and I think looking at them like rookies, um, I think even if it's technically true, I don't think even if we do beat them, I don't think that's going to be why they look like seasoned players. They've been coached like seasoned players, and it shows in a good way.
Right, for sure. And I think just looking at this series in particular too, Genie Pearl versus the Donut Shop Chocolate. Honestly, if you guys were going against Genie Pearl before like the comp ruling and stuff like that, and even without Jengjibin, I think that you guys would have had a really, really good chance going against Genie. I feel like Genie, because they've had more time to kind of sit and learn and get some more practice in, and now that they've gone against Coachless Tyranny, took a game off of them and stuff like that. I think going into the series against you guys, they'll have a lot of confidence going into it. So I think biggest thing for me is just watching how Genie wants to play. I've seen them play in a lot of different ways. Um, I think that's my biggest question mark in terms of this series of who wants to play where and who executes it better. But with that, we've got about 5 minutes left. So we're going to look at our final and streamed match of this week. We have Coachless Tyranny and TD Syndicate. This is the best of 5. Clutch and I agreed on a 3-1. Wingman, I'll go back to you. You said a 3-2 for Coachless Tyranny.
I think you have to go with the league favorites until someone takes them down. They haven't lost a series all year, and it's physically impossible for me to lock in anyone else until that happens. But I do think they did show a little bit of vulnerability last week against G&E, and I think a team like Syndicate that's been at that top tier all season long, I think played them very close even all the way back in the first week. I think they are as good as they're as good as anyone else in the league. I think if there's a number 2 right now with TD taking down BDE and obviously Rev going down with the comp ruling, TD is clearly the expected number 2 team in the league right now after bouncing back from their loss to G&E. And if anyone's going to push, so if GE pushed Tyranny to the brink last week. I think Syndicate can do the same. And I waffled between 3-1 and 3-2, but if you have to decide between one of the two, you might as well root for a Silver Stripe series.
That's true. I think my biggest concern when it comes to TD Syndicate is I feel like I've seen them as one of those teams sometimes where they have really high highs. When you see them win, they take like a clean 2-0 against, like, BDE Lucid. You have to wonder, was it, TD Syndicate, they were playing really well for sure, but was it also a bit of, BDE, having some other like roster issues, or people not being there, or maybe they're having an off day, and a whole bunch of other factors I feel like that went into it that it's hard to really see other than, just watching the games and seeing, being on the teams and knowing what went down. So I feel like regardless, coachless tyranny, even though they've had some new players added to the roster, namely Albedo and a couple of just, I feel like that hasn't changed how they've played as a team, right? I think they're still really solid, really consistent. So I think honestly, coachless tyranny, just from, I feel like this has to be like my safe prediction of the week. I'm not Matt Pizza where, he just throws like every week. He's like, yeah, I'm just gonna vote for the lower seed or vote for the team I just want to win. You guys should have
Yeah,
seen his reaction when FTD lost. He's like, "Hey yo, FTD lost? What the?"
yeah. I
That
think
was
what's also sorry. Go
no,
ahead.
no, no. That's all I gotta say.
I think the two other things worth mentioning are first looking back at last week. The difference I think between TD 2 weeks ago getting swept by GE and then last week sweeping BDE. Those are both pretty strong teams that most people have in a similar tier. I think the difference is in that coming into that GE series, TD had a lot of roster turmoil. They had to replace their mid and their top cherry, who was kind of considered up there in that same tier with, downfall of Chicky Pie. And they had to replace him with a new top laner, and they had to replace their mid as well. And I think the big difference is they got another couple weeks to practice with some of those new players, and I think they went ahead and played another different mid this week. But at least just having that top laner locked in for a couple weeks. I think that made a big difference. And so to me, that shows this is a team that is practicing well and is building chemistry for every week they're playing together. So that makes me feel a little better about them going into this week. Now, hopefully, they're going to keep that roster consistency, that synergy, and so that's why I'm feeling pretty uh, up about TV here.
I see. Okay, so Clutch, my final kind of question for you before we run out of time. You also said a 3-1 for Coachless Tyranny. What makes you think Coachless Tyranny pulls ahead, 3-1 in the series instead of like a 3-2 or a 3-0?
So I think TD Syndicate can either is going to show up and basically give Coaches Tyranny a run for their money and look like a really solid team, or TD Syndicate's going to show up and get ran over. This team has shown that they can contend with the best, but they can also just take dives randomly and just start like playing awful. Last week we saw them play very well. I hope they can continue that because then we'll actually have a very good series. But if this team, comes into this week and takes a dive, they're going to get ran over. Like Coachless Tyranny is very consistent. Uh, they do drop some games, but they're winning series. They've won every series. So they're a very consistent team. And I feel like if you're coming in, if you can't match that consistency that Coachless Tyranny has, you're just going to get ran over. Now, I said 3-1 because I feel like TD Syndicate, I think they have some tricks up their sleeve. They ended up beating BDE 2-0, and I didn't see that coming. So I feel like this team kind of has something going to be able to at least take a game off Coach's Tyranny. I could see it going 3-2, but I think after last week, I feel like maybe they could have showed a little bit too much. We saw the Wukong jungle that came out. Maybe that was something they were hoping to save if they were going to go against Coach's Tyranny. But I feel like more of their hand is a little bit revealed, and that's why I kind of say 3-1 instead of like 3-2. But yeah, I feel like Coach's Tyranny they are favored in this. But I don't think it's going to be a clean 3-0. I think easily TD Syndicate will be able to take a game.
Yeah, we've seen, like we said before, we saw Coach's Tyranny slip a little against Genie Pearl. TD Syndicate, right? It really depends. What kind of TD Syndicate are we seeing show up today? right? I feel like in terms of consistency, coachless tyranny, time and time again, I haven't really seen any kind of games where, someone on coachless tyranny just has like a really bad laning phase and just like absolutely blasts it down their lane. I feel like when coachless tyranny loses, it's as a team, right? As a 5-man unit. So I'd be interested to see how coachless tyranny, takes all of that into consideration against a team like TD Syndicate, where they have some pretty explosive members on that team for sure. So, other than that, I don't have too many finishing thoughts. So, Wingman, I'll let you have some thoughts going into this. You guys are going against Genie Pearl. You guys are in that losers bracket. What are your hopes and aspirations, coming out of the series tonight?
Uh, well, the biggest hope and aspiration is to win. That's
True.
kind of a boring answer, but yeah, in the playoffs, I think one thing we see in all sports, all esports, is everything goes to hell in the playoffs. And there's only one rule, and that rule is survive and advance. Survive, survive, survive. Just do what you gotta do to survive. There's no such thing as style points anymore, because yeah, All Star voting is done, and this is an entirely standings based deal. So all that matters is blowing up the Nexus, and just along those lines, I think the biggest X factor in this series, I think, is going to be mental for both teams. Uh, yeah, just Rev with all the chaos we Rev now Donut with all the chaos we've been through, and plus just both a lot of people on both teams have, I think, a fair number of college students. And if you've been through college, you know this time of year is an absolute mess for college students. So I think it really could just come down to who's in a better mental state tonight. And we hope that'll be us. But no
We'll
matter
have to
what, I think
see.
it'll be a fun series.
Yeah, well said, my friend. So, with that, hopefully you guys, you know, just play the best you can, regardless of the results. But overall, I think everyone's had a really great series and season. It's going like just a good season from everybody. So, regardless, big thank you to everyone who shows up and plays, and good luck to everyone tonight. Tune in just a couple of minutes. We're gonna be watching Coachless Tyranny take on a TD Syndicate in our second round of the winners bracket, and hopefully we'll see you guys there.